Welcome back to My Dad Watches The Bachelor. I'm Meredith, and I'm here with my co-host, my dad.
Good morning, Meredith.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Another interesting episode of The Bachelor last night.
Yeah, it was not my favorite. I think I officially do not like Matt and do not enjoy this season. I'm quite ready for it to be done and to move on to a Bachelorette season. You know, the women leads are just so much better than the male leads. So I'm ready to call it on this one. This is DOA.
Well, I thought Matt had a few bright moments last night, but yeah, I've throughout the show, I've not been a big fan of his. I've just never felt that he was totally invested in this process and really ready to get married. But I thought he had a few bright moments last night.
Okay, well, before we get started, I think we need to address something more serious that has occurred in Bachelor Nation. So last week, Chris Harrison did an interview with Rachel Lindsay, our first Black Bachelorette. I know you didn't watch that season, but I'm sure many of our listeners did, as did I. And it was on Extra TV, and they discussed the controversy around our current contestant, Rachel Kirkconnell, and like all the racist actions that have surfaced around her. For example, you know, she's liked pictures of Confederate flags on Instagram and attended an Old South party in college in 2018. And I think it's easy to say that Chris Harrison did not say the right things during the interview. He actually said all the wrong things, and he didn't come across as open-minded or understanding of what people of color have experienced. And I don't think we need to get too far into it, but I think we as individuals do not condone Chris Harrison's words or sentiments. And I think that he has a lot of learning and growing to do.
Well, I think that's well said. And you sent me a link to the podcast that I guess, or Rachel Lindsay's podcast, where she had at least part of that interview, which I did listen to, and best case scenario, Chris Harrison was tone deaf, but that's probably being kinder than he deserves. He said some things that were inappropriate. I think that Chris Harrison probably sees himself as sort of this fatherly protector figure for a lot of the people on the show, and that might have been his knee-jerk reaction. But he sort of missed the big picture by trying to not take some of those actions as seriously as they needed to be taken.
Yeah, I agree. There have been speculations now that Rachel is going to win Matt's season because of how hardly Chris Harrison protected, he was protecting her so much that usually Chris and the show don't do that to contestants that aren't important. So that's the speculation now. If you want to see any apologies, both Chris Harrison and Rachel Kirkconnell have apologized on their Instagrams. And I think it's a good step forward for both of them. But since we are not people of color, it is not our apology to accept. So.
Well, and we know at this point Chris Harrison will not be on the
after the final rose,
the post after the final rose episode, and is taking some time away. As our listeners know, they can send us questions at mydadwatchesthebachelor@gmail.com or hit us up on our Instagram page. And we did get a question from Deborah in Florida on whether Chris Harrison has been impeached yet. And, my answer to that would be, I think he has been impeached, but I don't think he's been convicted. So I do think that I think he will be rehabilitated, and I think eventually he will return to the program. What do you think?
I think that if there's anything the past few years have taught us, it's that old white men do not get convicted.
Well, so do you think he'll eventually be back on the program?
Yeah, I would be surprised if he's not going to be the host of The Bachelorette next season. I don't see them kicking him to the curb anytime soon, but I think it's good that he's taking some time away. I'm very curious to see how they do after the final rose, see who is going to host that, and we'll see what they have up their sleeve. But I mean, as we saw with Tayshia's season, episodes without Chris Harrison are a little weird. So when JoJo was our host, I mean, she did a fine job, but it's like Chris Harrison is a staple of the franchise. And there have been many people that have said they don't think the show will go on once Chris Harrison stops. So I'm curious to see what happens moving forward.
Well, it's really difficult to find those math wizards that can come in and say, "Ladies, only one rose left." He's good at counting, and if you don't get it, you're going to have to leave. So those are big shoes to fill.
Yes.
I've found Chris Harrison amusing on the show, but obviously things that he said were not amusing, and I hope he can get things together, and I hope the show can get things together and move forward. So we've said that.
Okay, so
we talk about the episode and highlights and lowlights and other stuff.
Let's get back to our usual programming. I don't have much good things to say. I tried to be optimistic, or at least a realist, and I think I'm going to be pessimistic today since I am over this season. My highs, I was really pulling at strings here last night, and I didn't really get them to like the last quarter of the episode. I enjoyed Matt's facial expressions when Jessenia was driving, and when they were, drifting, and he just looked terrified.
Yeah. Well, I like the drifting, and either Matt is a really crappy driver because he seemed to be running into all sorts of stuff, or he was intentionally trying to destroy the car and have a good time with that. But to me, that sort of looked like fun. They were both screaming and hollering, and when they said that this guy was a professional drifter, I sort of did a double take. I assumed they meant professional driver. I didn't realize that there was such a thing as professional drifting. So, which apparently is when you're burning rubber and spinning around and doing that. Apparently that's drifting. I did not know that.
To me, a professional drifter sounds more like a homeless person.
I agree. That's why I did the double take there. I said, "Is this guy got a bottle or something with him, or what's going on here?"
Well, I was not a big fan of the date. I can drive a car very competently, I think, but I don't want to be drifting or doing anything crazy or going too fast or feeling whiplash or having to wear a helmet in my car. I think I'm a bit too risk averse for that kind of date. And I was also concerned because we saw how well Matt handled Bree's ATV date. And I was like, oh, is he going to flip the car like he flipped the ATV? So I would not.
It's harder to flip a car.
I would not have wanted to be just any.
It's harder to flip.
It's harder to flip a car. But.
And from a dad perspective, it makes me happy that you're staying within the speed limits and driving competently. That makes dads very happy. So that's good news.
Oh, good. I'm just trying to make you proud here at 9:15.
Making me proud. That's great.
Okay, my only other high was the fun scenes we got at the end of the episode of seeing how goofy Michelle is. We got to see her getting her back cracked during a cocktail party, and she paused in the middle of a toast because she wanted to make sure her arms looked good for the camera and did some push-ups right there in her dress in front of everyone. That's what I want to see on The Bachelor. That literally came out of left field for me. I was like, I had no idea Michelle had this type of personality. Makes me like her so much more.
Well, and just seeing that glimpse, Matt's a pretty athletic guy, former football player and everything, and it just sort of, maybe they throw those crumbs out there to send us in the wrong direction, but it made me think she's probably the best match for him based on the people that are left there. It just struck me as she might be the winner. I don't know. She's athletic. She seems a little taller than the other women. She seems to be a good physical fit with him. I don't know. And she seems fun and goofy. Yeah. She seems very enjoyable. I remember the one-on-one date they had seemed to be very good. So I took note of that as well. So that was fun.
I would be happy if Michelle won. She seems like a cool girl. She could probably do way better than Matt, though.
Well, and you and I would both be off the hook since she wasn't one of the original Bachelor girls that we had to choose from. So we could say, hey, that's why we didn't get it right in the end.
We did both officially get 25% of the top 4 right, because we both picked Brie. So
this is correct.
Good for us. All right, what are your highs?
So to me, an obvious high was, Matt James sending home Heather, the blonde girl that shows up out of nowhere and hops in, and surprisingly to me, I thought he handled that very well and recognized that, hey, I've been with these other girls for 4 weeks, 6 weeks, however it is. It's really not fair for you just to hop in here and start from scratch. And he escorted her out. So and obviously the other ladies thought that was a great move too. They were all ready to jump him right after that and thought it was the greatest thing they'd ever seen. So I thought that was very good.
That's fair. I guess that was good. I think maybe Matt was smarter than I gave him credit for. I think he realized that if he kept Heather around, he was about to experience the biggest bitch tornado this world has ever seen.
Other high I had was, and again, to my surprise, Kit. The way that when she got with Matt and said, by the way, here's what I'm wanting. I want, I need a Mercedes. I need this. I need that. She said, I'm not having kids until 25, 26. Just want to be clear about my expectations. And then after the group date, she shows up at his apartment unannounced and says, I'm really not, I'm not totally committed to this. I need to go. It's been fun, and departs on her terms, which, in thinking about the whole evening, maybe she was trying to get him to walk her out earlier, by laying out her terms. But I've said some things about Kit that I just didn't think that she was. I think she's just 21. Just don't think she's really ready for this to be married, and that she and Matt don't make a very good couple. And maybe she recognized it. I don't know, but I'm glad that she went out on her terms, and I hope she has a great career as an influencer.
I agree. I think Kit went on the show to become an influencer and never expected to make it as far as she did, and was like, crap, this has gone on too long. We got to head out now. But I agree. I thought it was mature how she handled it.
So those were my highlights. I did put a little note down here on the fellow that was singing to Rachel and Matt. I think his name was Alo Black, maybe. I don't know. I wrote it down. I'm going to check him out on Spotify. I enjoyed his crooning.
Okay, yeah, he was a good singer. I had never heard of him. My roommate that I was watching a show with said she recognized his name, so we got to check him out. See if we like his stuff. He had a nice voice.
Yeah, never heard of him, but I liked what I heard last night, so I'm gonna check him out on Spotify today.
All right, our lows. The Mean Girls are back. The women were terrible to Heather. when she came in. They were so mean. And I know that Heather's coming in trying to date their man or whatever, but there's already like 7 other girls trying to date their man, 10 other girls at that point. And that's just not how you treat someone that you're just meeting. Like, they weren't even waiting till she was gone to talk smack behind her back. They were just talking it straight to her face, being so rude. It is a shame that Katie is not there anymore, because someone really needed to reel these girls in.
So I'll go along with that to a point, but I Heather coming in the way she did, part of me is like, well, what did anyone expect? What did Heather expect, that she was going to be embraced by these people? They've been there for 6 weeks, and they were rude. At least they were rude to her face. I mean, and there was some over the top that I certainly don't condone. But I just sort of found it to be what I thought it would be. And I thought Heather was very, very naive to think that she wasn't going to get some strong reaction from the other girls that were there, and her sort of crying, saying, "Oh, I can't believe they're being so mean to me." I was like, "Well, I don't think you should be surprised by that, Heather. I think that's probably what you should have been expecting."
I don't know. I think it's okay to expect that people will treat you respectfully and courteously, like even just being polite, even if they don't want to. I mean, we're polite to people that we don't want to be polite to all the time. Like, that's basically what 50% of being an adult is. So I think that Heather could have expected some common courtesy coming in, and those girls were just awful. And it's like, I thought that we got rid of all the mean girls by now, but like, they were just bad, and I didn't have much sympathy for Heather after last week's episode, but after this week's episode, I felt like I was Team Heather by the time she was heading out in her minivan.
I was not Team Heather, but I bear her no ill will. I just think it's sort of crazy on everybody's part to think they should drop in, when we're 6 weeks into the program, like, "Hey, aren't you happy to see me?" I think that's a pretty unrealistic and silly expectation. I also thought it was strange that she had this minivan that they would lead us to believe she rented somewhere, and then as she's leaving, it looks like they managed to stick a camera in her minivan, because as she was driving away, there were some pictures of her, and I guess they were hoping or expecting that she was going to cry or say how sad she was, and they didn't really have any of that in it. Maybe she realized that someone snuck a camera in her van and she ripped it out and threw it out the window. I wish we had seen that. That would have made me happy.
Yeah, we're missing out on so many good things this episode. So what's one of your lows?
Well, the departure of Abigail made me sad. Abigail, you and I both really liked her, and she seemed to be such a nice, sincere, authentic person. And Matt walked her out, and I felt bad for her on the one hand, but on the other hand, as I'm sure you're going to remind me, she deserves better than Matt, and hopefully she'll find it. But I'm hoping she doesn't have to find it on Chlamydia Island. Tell me that's not going to happen.
I'm hopeful that she is bachelorette potential. I think she would be a good bachelorette. She's very sweet, definitely deserves love. And I feel like one of the nicer girls on the season. Very low bar there, but she seems very nice. I was also very saddened by her departure. Matt's reasoning being like, my other relationships progressed more. I felt comfortable with us at the beginning, so I didn't feel like I needed to like put in that effort with you. And it's like, she just really got shafted. She got the first impression rose, and then Matt just threw her to the back burner because he thought that things were good there and never put in any effort. And that's on him. That's not on her. And I think that she deserved better.
Yeah. It's sort of like the old "it's not you, it's me" sort of excuse to get out of a relationship. So it's unfortunate. We wish the best for Abigail, and we like her. And uh, I'm not sure that being the Bachelorette would be the best thing for anybody, but we just hope that she finds happiness.
Yeah, but I think you can tell that she is one of the genuinely good people on the show. I think you could tell it because the other girls seemed very upset and shaken that she got sent home. No one seemed that upset when anyone else was getting sent home, but
Yeah.
Abigail, like it looked like Bree started crying.
Yeah, yeah. So, well. Speaking of Bree, I guess it was Bree. In terms of lowlights, she during the group date when she was talking to Matt, shared with Matt that she'd left her dream job to come on the Bachelor show, and I guess I listened to that and I'm thinking, so you left your dream job to come meet this guy that you've never met before and give up your dream job. And she was saying about, her mother had done so much for her and everything. And I'm just thinking, what a bonehead you are. What person would do this, leave their dream job to come on this show to meet someone that they've never met before, to chase love like that. Bonehead move.
Well, to be fair, the way that I understood it was she said that she had to resign from her job in the past few days. So I'm guessing like she got some type of leave of absence, and they're like, if you're not back by this date, you have to resign. And I guess that kind of gave her the option. Like if she went and didn't have this connection with Matt, she could leave, and she chose to stay because she did feel like she had this connection with Matt. But I still also put this as a low because it was her dream job. I remember in some of the preseason media, Chris Harrison was saying that she works for some unnamed big tech company like in Silicon Valley. She did say it was her dream job. And you know what? We do not give up our dream jobs for men. We don't do that, especially not for men who kiss with their eyes open. Like we need to raise our bar, Bree. And I really like Bree. She's our only top 4 pick that's still around, and it made me lose a lot of respect for her.
Well, I'm with you on that, and I'm support you 100%. Chase your dream job. You deserve to have it all, your dream job and your dream guy. So you shouldn't be giving up on that.
Okay.
I know you like that as well. All right. My last low light was Jasenia's departure. Not that I had a problem with Jasenia leaving, but just the way that Matt did it. He picks up the rose, sticks it in her face, waving it around like I'm going to give it to you, and then says, but I can't give it to you. And he's still sticking it in her face. I thought he was just taunting her with the rose, and I didn't like the way that went down.
No, that girl, she was delusional if she ever thought that she was going to be getting that rose. I knew from the moment we knew that she had a one-on-one, I knew she was heading out. There's no way she's getting a hometown date over a Bree or a Michelle.
Well, by the way, I think that was Matt's tell, because I think for the last 3 weeks, the lady who had the last one-on-one date got sent home. So when Jasenia got that last one-on-one date, I was just thinking, oh, that's his move. He's gonna tell you to go home. So enjoy your date because you're not staying.
Well, he might as well have just given it to Abigail then, and at least we could have gotten to see some more of her before she got sent on her way.
But I think the whole thing of saying we're going to have a one-on-one date so I can send you home sort of feels wrong to me. I don't know. And maybe I'm jumping to conclusions and Matt's using those to assess. I don't know, but it just seems that there was a pattern there. I think Katie was last week. I think there was another one where there were 2 one-on-one dates, and the last one-on-one date of the week is the person that's going home. So anyway, and I agree with you. She didn't really strike me as the as winner potential. So sorry, Jasenia. Take care.
All right, so we've discussed our lows. We'll get a little positive again. Get into our right reason. You've already discussed this a little, but I put Kit as my right reason. I thought that leaving on her own was very mature. You said she talked to Matt about her expectations and how she's a long-term investment, which I liked that phrase that she referred to herself as. And leaving on her own was just, she was, might have not been on the show for the right reasons at all intentionally, like initially, but she had it out because one, she knew that Matt was a total weenie and has no, he's a bad judge of character, big loser. And two, like she knew she'd gotten her Instagram followers, so she had done her business and was ready to go back home to New York. I respect it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and as I said, I can go along with that. She ultimately, her maturity level was higher than I expected. Still at 21 years old, as a dad, I would rather you wait a while, see what else is out there, learn a little bit about life before you settle for the bachelor guy. But good for Kit. I'm glad that she saw the big picture, and we wish her luck. For the right reasons, for the first time this year, I'm giving it to Matt James for the way he handled his business with Heather and figured that one out. I appreciated the fact that he understood that the ladies who had been there the whole time had earned it, had deserved to be there, and that you can't parachute in at the last minute and bat your eyes and get to stay on the show. So I'm giving Matt James my right reason for the first time this year.
I guess that's fair. I'm just really not on the Matt James train any longer, so I don't really like it, but I understand it.
All right. Well, who's your wrong reason?
Well, that kind of rolls into my wrong reason. And, I really hate to do this. It hurts my heart. But my wrong reason is Hannah Brown. So,
okay.
Hannah is the reason that Heather came onto the show. They're best friends. Hannah Brown and Matt have a new formed friendship over quarantine. And Hannah told Heather that they would make such a good match, and that I don't know if Hannah explicitly said, like, go on the show, you need to meet Matt. But, like, Hannah has known Matt since April of 2020 when they were quarantining together. Hannah has known Heather since, 2019, 2018, whenever she was on The Bachelor. And I feel pretty confident that she's had both of their phone numbers for months before Matt's season ever started. And if Heather's really your best friend and you're really that close with Matt and you think that they would make a good match, I think that she had months and months to try and set that up without it involving national television. So I don't really know to what extent Hannah played in Heather coming on the show, but the way that it was aired seemed questionable to me for Hannah to be a friend to both of them.
Well, I don't really know Hannah Brown. Couldn't pick her out of a lineup, but I agree with your logic and your reasoning, and I think there are some questions in my mind of whether Hannah Brown was behind this, or evil Chris Harrison was behind this, or the Bachelor producers. But the whole thing was so contrived and silly that if there was really potential between Heather and Matt, yes, I agree that someone should have figured that one out before now. So, or before we're seeing this on the show. So my wrong reason goes to Serena P, who had the one-on-one date where they did like sex yoga with Matt, and she was very uncomfortable. with basically saying, "Hey, you're going to wear skimpy clothes. We're going to put you in some very sexual positions with Matt, and you'll love it." And she didn't love it, and she told Matt this, which I appreciate. But during the whole dinner that they had afterwards, or in the conversations they had afterwards, I just got the sense that Serena was really not so into Matt. I mean, I don't think she's so convinced that this is a good idea. And so anyway, just I have a lot of question marks about Serena P. Whether she's, I'm not going to say that you're there for the wrong reasons, but I'm just going to say I'm not thinking that she's really totally sold on Matt James. And if he got down on one knee and proposed to her, I'm not sure she'd say, "Oh, let's get married." I'm not thinking she's there.
See, these are all of the reasons that I chose Serena as the MVP. I think that I don't like Matt anymore, and I think it's great to see one of these women not being like a blubbering idiot, being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm falling in love with you." She's like being very realistic about the situation, being like, "Dude, I did not feel a connection when we were doing that tantric yoga. Matt's over there won't shut up about how deep of a connection he felt looking into her eyes." And she's like, "Yeah, I was super uncomfortable. Like, I'm never doing that again." And I like that she was very upfront and honest with him. And I like that he likes her way more than she likes him. I like seeing that power shift between contestant and lead.
So I have no problem whatsoever with her being the wrong reason and the MVP.
Good, because that's
the
type of weekend.
And I agree with you on the honesty thing.
Good. Okay, well, do you have any fatherly advice to wrap us up?
Well, for the girls that left, who are always so sad and crying and everything, I just want them to realize that other people have been there before them, and whether it be on this dopey show or in real life, and it hurts, but they're going to be okay. And I hope that I hope their father or they have a good friend that's going to give them a hug, and that they realize that life will go on. They will, in all likelihood, find someone that loves them and cares for them, and it's okay. And it's going to be okay. And the other thing that I was going to say, or I will say to everyone out there, is you really need to be careful about what you put online, on social media, because it doesn't go away. You have to assume the person that you would least like to see it is going to see it. And remember, your future employers are going to look at it. Your future boyfriend, girlfriends are going to look at it. Some of their curious parents are going to look at it. So be careful on what you post out there. So that's sort of, I felt appropriate considering the firestorm that we had this week with Rachel, Chris Harrison, and whatnot. So anyway, fatherly advice for the week.
Yeah, and don't be racist.
That's good daughter advice. And the father agrees with that one.
All right, well, I think that's a good note to end it on. So join us next week as we talk about the hometown dates from the right perspective and my dad's.